Welcome to No Apologies, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I'm your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz. And I'm very excited to talk with our guests tonight.
Yeah.
Our first one is Nan Su, a reporter for the Epoch Times. Nan Su is apparently an expert on China relations and knows a lot about what's happening with China and Afghanistan.
Very good, timely topics there.
Yeah.
And then our second
Yes.
guest is also going to be in remotely too, and that is Preya Samsundar, and she's going to talk a little bit about a couple of different topics. We'll just hold that close to the vest until later.
Close to the vest. All right. So our first segment tonight, I am going to do, it's basically part 2 of last night's show. And what we brought up last night was the school boards being sort of pressured by not only the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatricians, but their local county health departments. And what we're showing is that the science is not there. Right. There is no there. There is nothing to indicate that masking children in schools is a good idea or that it will improve outcomes. And here's the weird thing. This should be a slam dunk. For those that are pro-maskers, pro-mandate, because we're not talking about pro or anti-mask, we're talking about pro or anti-mandate for children in schools. If you're pro-mandate for children in schools, you should have an abundance of evidence from myriad studies carried on throughout the United States, because we just went through a whole year, academic year, of kids being masked or not being masked, depending on which school district, in which county, in which state. But what's out there? Nothing.
Zero.
There's nothing,
Crickets.
folks. And so we have to implore our school superintendents and our school board members to not be pressured, because it's a mountain of pressure that they're looking at, because these are so-called experts, right? But just to look at the science. And I just sent a message off saying, look, ask for one study and then send it on to someone that can review it with unbiased. So
great idea.
we're going to recap just a little bit from last night. I'm going to go on to a couple more things. Okay. Pull up our first study. This is shown on CDC, and it's mask use and ventilation improvements. What they mean by that is opening the doors, using filtration and so forth in elementary schools in Georgia. And what we found here basically is that required mask use among students was not statistically significant compared with schools where mask use was optional. So right there, you've got a study. It shows there was nothing statistically better. I do want to take just digress here for a moment. These studies, these first 3 studies I'm going to show you, are from a physician who was trying to, in a respectful manner, we were having a good dialogue, but was trying to show me the evidence for why children should be masked. And here's the problem. People aren't looking at the studies. And I saw this when it came to red flag laws. I saw it with regard to gender wage gap. Yep. The actual studies that the proponents for such a thing, this government position, are handing you are actually showing the opposite. It's just that no one's actually dissecting the studies. Bring up the next one, if you would, please. This one is from MedRx, and it is with regard to Florida, New York, and Massachusetts. We showed this last night. It showed that there were no findings of improved infection rates among kids with mask mandates. Boom, it's right there. Pull up the next one, if you would, here. This is with the latter part of 2020, August through November, in Norway, right? And this shows that there was a minimal, if any, child-to-child or child-to-adult transmission. And it indicated that good hygiene, physical distancing, and if you're sick, stay the hell at home, is all they needed. They specifically say that use of face masks is not recommended in schools in Norway because they're following the science.
You know, whatever happened to common sense, though, too? I mean, seriously, the science is one thing, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at a child and go, this child is going to have problems understanding what facial recognition is. They're going to, the worst one, the one that broke my heart, honestly, Rick, was the one where the kid said, my teacher doesn't know what I look like.
Yeah, it's horrible, but here's the thing, Lori. I mean, the people that make the decisions, the school board members, are being told that the Delta variant is more dangerous for children, that if they don't mandate masks, not only will more children be sick, be in the hospitals, potentially die, but the people that are surrounding them are also going to be sick and die. And so they're hearing this from the professionals that
Right.
they believe they are supposed to be able to trust what they say. And I am just beside myself because these professionals are not basing it on science, they're basing it on emotion. And well, let's pull up the next one. Okay, this one we also brought up last night, but very briefly. Okay, this is masking children from the American Institute of Economic Research. Tragic, unscientific, and damaging. I want to read an excerpt from this article. It says, yes, the public was lied to and deceived from day one by governments and their medical advisors and the media medical cabal with its incessant messaging that we are all at equal risk of severe illness or death if infected, young and old. They subverted science. This caused irrational fear and hysteria, and it has held on. This type of deception and the resulting unfounded fear has been driven by the media despite a 1,000-fold difference in risk between old and young. We suggest that this has always been known, and yet this disinformation and related falsehoods were spread seemingly both willfully and knowingly by our leaders and the media. Such conflation of the risk between the young and the elderly population with comorbidities and at risk is wrong-headed and creates unnecessary fear for all. It is well known that there is a distinct stratified risk. Additionally, data now suggests that children not only have extremely low risk, as mentioned above, but also they naturally have the capability of evading coronavirus due to the lack of ACE2 receptors in their nostrils. So, very interesting there. Next article. This is from Changing America. Okay, pull up the next one if you would, gentlemen. Changing America, it says here, evidence mounts that Delta variant is dangerous for kids, right? That's a heck of a headline.
It sure is. And
It
it's
is.
pretty bold and
Delta
frightening.
variant is dangerous
Fear.
for kids. I can tell you that Renee Mock at the Burleigh County Health Department has said that same thing. Other health professionals have said the same thing. The physician that sent me the studies has said the same thing. Do you know what this study says? Or this article, if you actually read it, pull up the next graphic. Remember that the first one said that the title says evidence mounts that Delta variant is dangerous for kids. But let's read it. While cases among children are growing at an alarming rate, the Delta variant is not confirmed to be more dangerous in children than adults.
Right there.
It goes on. It's too early to tell that it's going to take time and a collection of data from multiple sites to know if the Delta variant is more virulent in kids than previous strains of the virus. CDC is trying to determine whether the Delta variant can be a more severe disease in children. They don't know. There's nothing at all, but yet we're being told, we're being scared. It's fear porn.
Yeah, it is.
It's fear porn to try
100%.
and do what they say, to be complicit and just fall in line. Pull up the last one if you would, please. First Coast News, and it says, then they did look at it, no, the Delta variant does not have more dangerous symptoms for children. Underneath it says, with hospitals reporting a significant increase in child hospitalizations due to COVID-19, some are claiming that the Delta variant causes more severe disease.
Well, those are interesting words. Some are claiming, and they're claiming exactly as you say, for fear. And fear means control. And then I start wondering why.
Right. What we're looking at is intentional misdirection. The virus, the Delta strain, is believed to be more contagious, right? More transmissible, and therefore more people are going to get it. That's different than being more dangerous. It's not more virulent. Now, maybe it'll be shown in the future.
With a study.
I can't tell the future, but I can tell you that right now, the data we have does not indicate whatsoever that it's more dangerous. So people like Renee Mock and the other medical professionals need to stop saying that until they have something to back them. Bottom line is this, folks. There is nothing to indicate that children should be masked in schools. If your school board is thinking of it, call them. Call them now. If your school board is holding off, call them and thank them now. Do it now. Do it tomorrow at least. For goodness sake, they have to hear from you or they're going to do it to the detriment of our children. We will be right back with our special guest, Nan Su.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground, enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
All right, we are back, and I'm very happy to have senior reporter Nan Su from the Epoch Times. And Nan is an expert with regard to China relations, and in particular for our discussion tonight with what's happening right now with Afghanistan and kind of where, how, and why China is positioning itself where it is with regard to Afghanistan. Nan, welcome. Thank you for being on tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
If you can give our audience a little bit of the groundwork here on really how, because I think, at least as Americans, the folks that I speak with, China, as far as we are aware, has not even entered the equation or is part of the equation for Afghanistan. We're thinking in terms of us, maybe Russia, certainly Afghanistan. But tell us, how does China fit in here?
Well, Chinese regime has been cashing in huge in last few weeks. China, it's strategically, most of the people living in the Western world have not realized that China has quietly and strategically moving to the next step. The Beijing's leader have already realized that in the next 30 years of their economic development, that the China will not be able to rely on basically, in a plain language, to steal from the Western world, the technology, the market, the investment, and industries like what they did in the last 20 years after China was allowed to join WTO. So basically, they are quietly start building this global system that's centered around China. And what China eagerly wants right now, it's a world leadership image that can challenge Americans' dominant power in the world. So that's what they want. And so that's why in the past couple of weeks, you see all the state-run Chinese media in China have been in all-out war. And they try to basically, they all focus on 3 points. Number one, America, it's a paper tiger. United States, a paper tiger. Just look at the Taliban soldiers. They hid in the cave. They only equipped with AK-47. They easily defeated American troops. And number two, China, it's the leader in the war as a constructive force, while United States, it's a leader of a destructive force. And China, it's going to help Taliban to rebuild Afghanistan. And number three, whoever still with this alliance relationship with the United States will be abandoned by United States, just like Afghanistan, and specifically, they really talk about Taiwan. They really try to threaten Taiwan to drop its relationship with the United States.
Wow.
Very interesting. So this is, or let me ask you, is this then primarily about building relationships and trade opportunities and sort of marginalizing your number one competitor if you're China, then being the U.S.? Is that what this is centered around?
Well, it's actually, they want to build a global system that's centered around China, pretty much similar to the former Eastern European countries around former Soviet Union, except that alliance was built based on the common ideology of communism and pretty much a military alliance in nature. But what China is building, it's a relationship centered around China, more like these countries will be infiltrated by China's economic power and controlled by China, the internet, the technology that provided by China, because all the Chinese technologies were built with a backdoor. When they built this country, like North Korea, China has completely built the internet for North Korea. So, basically they basically have the access to all the personal information of all the leadership. So everything to them is not a secret. So China is doing that, and they are specifically choosing Southeast Asia. And by the way, Southeast Asia right now is China's largest trading partner already. Their trading relationship with China is much more than European Union, and then also Central Asia countries. Those 5 Central Asia countries that formerly belonged to Soviet Union, and South America countries and African countries. So that's what they are really trying to build, this kind of a war system, and specifically for Afghanistan. Now, I'm not sure if American knows, China in quite a few years now, they're already talking about building this so-called Iran, Pakistan, and China energy corridor. Now, with Afghanistan joining this picture, this whole corridor, it's right there already, because China had signed an agreement with Iran back in March this year. In the next 25 years, China is going to provide $400 billion economic aid to Iran. And as a return, Iran is going to provide a constant oil supply to China. But right now, the oil from Iran is going to have to go through Persian Gulf and go through the Malacca Strait and then through South China Sea eventually before it reaches China. So once they build this corridor, and basically the oil pipes from Iran to China, and that's it.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very strategic play. That's that's phenomenal. A direct pipeline, and of course, as we move forward and alliances are built and so forth, that's going to be key. In this segment, we've just got another couple of minutes left here. Along with oil, we hear about the rare earth minerals that are in Afghanistan. Does that play a role at all, or does China have an abundance of that resource itself?
Yes, China has already have all these rare earth material, but however, the rare earth material from Afghanistan will be a plus for China, because the Chinese leaders are right now in the last couple of years in a huge push to build its own semiconductor industry. So that will be a plus for them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Mr. Su, I'm going to ask you to stay on with us for another segment. We've got several more questions, very, very fascinating stuff, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
All right, we are back. It's No Apologies, your after-hours oasis of sanity. We have senior reporter from the Epoch Times, Mr. Nan Su, and we are discussing China's role in the area of Afghanistan, what it all means for the world, frankly. And I have a quick question for you. I've been reading up on this One Belt, One Road, or the Silk Road initiative, and it sounds like it's global. And from what you're describing with China and its outreach and really taking control in a masterful way, the entire portion of Asia, it sounds like it's the same initiative that they're doing worldwide. Am I viewing this correctly?
Yes, Belt and Roads Project, it's basically to do two things. Number one, China has really substantially overbuilt because their last 3 or 4 decades of economic development was really basing on the infrastructure building. And China now, their residential building is close to 25% vacancy, while their office building is close to 30% vacancy. So they really have a problem of slowing down economy. So they they try to send these workers, their companies, their Chinese companies, to go other countries to help other countries to build. It's really to help themselves. And number two, they really, all these Belt and Road projects doesn't help the country to grow their economy. Rather than they will bring their own company, their own equipment, their own workers, and their own money. They will come to your country. They will basically those developing countries in not only in the Asia, but also in African countries, a country in the South America, even Italy joined the program. So they are going to come here, they build it for you, and then they will just turn around and leave. And then you are going to repay all the debt you own. So it's really what they call a debt trap diplomacy. So you're going to own a big amount of money, and then they are going to try to infiltrate you, the local region through because you own the money basically. So that's what the Belt and Road project it's about.
I see.
So interesting.
Because I think I've seen projects that in Central America that there's big signs up and it says it's financed by China. And my thought was, well, why are they doing that? So it's really kind of a shakedown because they're financing it. The country can't afford it. If they could afford it, they would do it themselves.
That's right.
And so probably China is not even expecting to be paid back. What they're looking is to shake down and say, well, if you can't pay us back, we're going to take control of this, or we're going to ask you to do a favor, a favor here or there. It sounds like it's.
That's why it is. They will use maybe your harbor, your some area for their military base. They will ask you to do this and do that. So basically, that's kind of like that's what the debt trap diplomacy is about.
Right, and they're doing it in some part with countries that have been very favorable to the United States. So I think then that will put them, those countries, in a difficult situation. Do we go with our friend, or do we go with those that we are beholden to now? We've put ourselves in this situation. So I mean, I got to hand it. Is this all part of the current president of China's plan, or has this been ongoing now for a much longer period?
It's been going on for a much longer period. It's part of the Chinese military, so-called unrestricted and unconventional warfare against the West. They published a book in the 90s talking about the unrestricted warfare. Basically, it's a warfare against the West war. Western war without any rule. It's a war without any rule. They'll do anything. So that's been planned for a long time. And the United States, Americans, and then the people living in the Western world have not been knowing that they have been in war for more than 2 decades.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious about the relationship that we have heard now recently between the Taliban and China, because that seems like strange bedfellows to me. I didn't know that the Taliban was really friends with anybody. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, Chinese regime has been playing with both sides. On one side, they working with Afghanistan government that's being supported by the United States. So they extend their Belt and Road projects into Afghanistan with the agreement with Afghanistan government. Right now, we probably call it the former government now. And then at the same time, for a couple of decades, Taliban has been sending their top military officials to Chinese military to receive military training. So they've been working with both sides, and then Chinese government, it's really looking to, this is a part of the United Front. I'm not sure Americans have heard of that word, United Front, like a rear and front line front. The Chinese regime's United Front project. It's basically to go out of China to build a common interest, or at least find a common enemy with the group with the outside group, so they can work together. So I'm not sure if you know that Georgetown Foundation last year published a report. They actually found the United Front project, which is United Front Department, which is one of the 3 largest departments of Chinese Communist Party. Their annual budget, it's greater than the budget of China's foreign ministry department.
Wow. Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. I'm stunned that they sent people to China to train for the Taliban. That is just amazing. I never knew that. I've never heard that before.
I'd like to ask you a quick question that maybe goes in a slightly different direction. You mentioned Taiwan in the previous segment. It seems to me that China is gaining a great deal of power and a great deal of leverage, frankly, with the world. And so for it to be aggressive toward Taiwan, those that would oppose that aggression are going to probably be falling like dominoes. So my question is twofold. First, do you see something like that playing out? Secondly, does Taiwan exist as Taiwan in 3 years?
Oh, well, I think Taiwan is definitely facing clear and present danger from communist regime, across the Taiwan Strait. And I think if Taiwan is still going to be there as a country in 3 years, I think it greatly depends on how much determined the leader in Taiwan, as well as in the entire Western world, to protect the security of Taiwan, especially the leadership in the United States.
Well, that's a pretty precarious thing to be holding out hope on with our current administration, it seems to me. So yeah, we'll hope that things work out well. What do you see as perhaps the next moves, or are they already sort of known with the Belt and Road situation? What next moves do you see from China in continuing to gain this power play?
Well, China has no hesitance. They're already moving. I'm not sure if you see the news in the couple of days. Right now, they announced that everyone that's sailing through the South China Sea need to report to China, including submarines and including any ships that carry radioactive materials. So basically, think about the U.S. has a naval ship that's been sailing there to basically making the announcement to the world to protect the freedom of navigation. Are they going to need to report to Chinese regime when they sail through the South China Sea? China has moved to the next step. So we need to wake up.
Wow. Well, that is a good note to go out on. We need to wake up and we need to be aware. And this is some pretty stellar gamesmanship. I got to hand it to China. A very, very formidable foe when it comes to being a world player. So, Nan Su, thank you very much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Very insightful, very, very informative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, folks, we will be back next with another special guest, Preya. Is that right?
Samsundar, yeah, Preya Samsundar.
Preya
yeah.
Samsundar. All right, we'll be right back.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go. We deliver for you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled My Pillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to mypillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all My Pillow products. For example, you can get my premium My Pillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Welcome back to No Apologies.
Here, no apologies. Your after hours. Did we do that already?
We did it.
Okay.
We did
Just
it, Lori.
making sure. All right. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce you today to Preya Samsundar. She is now RNC. It means Republican National Committee, but you're an RNC Midwest Region Comms Director. It's a long name, but communications is your job. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, all things communications.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about tonight is, because I really want to talk about it and because everything's been hijacked and all the air has been sucked out of the room by the Afghanistan debacle and all the dreadful stuff going along with it, I want to go back to election integrity just for a little bit. And so I want to talk about that for you. So the RNC, the Republican National Committee, has made an effort to put it a priority, make it important, because there are so many voters all across the fruited plain who are so disenfranchised now. Could you speak a little bit about what the RNC is doing?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note as well that the RNC has long focused on election integrity, especially during the last presidential cycle, at a time where Democrats were using the COVID pandemic as a means to dismantle election integrity laws in states all across the country. The RNC stepped up and said, you know what, we need to do our part to protect the vote. And so the RNC last cycle alone invested more than approximately $40 million into election integrity programs. So that way we could go into the states and have an opportunity to get ourselves involved in some of these lawsuits that Democrats were filing in states all across the country to weaken voter ID laws, weaken witness signatures, make it easier to send out absentee ballots, make it more likely for ballot harvesting in states that didn't have ballot harvesting before, and just make it easier for them to go about and make it easier for them to win elections, essentially.
Now, it is really tough because this situation is where we kind of looked at what happened and we can see that there were some things where we maybe took our eye off the ball a little bit as the Republican Party. But at the same time, the Republican Party now has kind of looked at that, made a totally new effort. And I understand that they're also hiring people to go into specific states and making it seriously a priority now as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, we definitely learned a lot from last cycle and what we could do for election integrity and what we could do to protect our elections and to really to help like folks across the country regain trust in the electoral process, because that's so important to free and fair elections. And so the RNC created this Committee on Election Integrity, and part of what they ended up adopting is, recognizing that, hey, Democrats used the COVID pandemic as a way to, weaken these election laws, as I mentioned earlier, but also here's what we're going to do in the future. Through our political team, we are going to bring in year-round staff, that will focus solely on election integrity. They will work to keep track of, bills that are going on in states. We've got wonderful Republican governors and Republican-led legislatures across the country who are trying to take back what the Democrats attempted to weaken during the last presidential cycle through lawsuits, and are trying to regain those laws and re-strengthen those laws. They're keeping an eye on that, but they're also working to train activists the same way we do with our field staff and with our volunteers. We're going out training those staff so they can be poll workers, and so that they can, go in from early voting to election day and keep an eye on that process as well, because, we do have that right. But unfortunately, as I'm sure you're well aware, it is very hard to find folks who are willing to take the time off to be a poll worker or a poll watcher, especially in inner cities like Minneapolis, like Chicago, like Detroit, like Philadelphia. So, working with those folks, giving them the tools and the resources they need to go out, and train them, months, years in advance, so they have those tools and those resources to go be a poll watcher and a poll worker, is really a focus of ours this cycle. In addition to all the lawsuits.
That is a brilliant plan, getting more and more people on the grassroots level involved in the poll watching and the poll, workers, and it's vital that people take their time to go and do that now too. I'm also happy to see that it seems to me that the GOP is doing a better job now of playing offense rather than always playing defense. It seems like for a long time we were not really working on the poll watcher thing until right before the election. Well, now we're way out in advance thinking about that now, and I think that's vital also.
No, absolutely. And I think to the RNC's credit, they recognize that, this time around, they actually can go about and train these poll watchers and poll workers. Not only does it, engage the grassroots and engage those activists who care deeply about election integrity, but it also helps restore their faith in the process as well. Folks obviously came away from the last election cycle with a lot of questions. They saw a lot of videos, social media and on TV, showing poor treatment for poll workers in places like Detroit and Philadelphia. Right. This type of training will really help them, get very engaged in that process, help them get involved, and help restore their faith in the processes as well, which I think is equally important as it is to just make sure that we have folks present and watching.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Election Integrity Committee that was primarily a temporary committee put together, and Ronna McDaniel did that immediately right after the election and decided in January, all right, that's it, we're going to put this together. So it began the end of February, and then these folks, there were 24 members, and I'm on the election committee as well, and there are 24 from 21 different states, and we had 4 different subcommittees, and we had things that we were talking about, and the first one, which is a really good plan for a subcommittee, is what went wrong and what went right. So we could look at and say, okay, we maybe stepped back a little bit on this, but we did this right, and we need to work on both of those things. And another committee was also on legislation only, just going to the states, finding out what the different states are doing that was going to strengthen our laws and make things easier to vote and harder to cheat. And then another one, the one that I was on, was the election day operations. And that's the one with the poll workers. And that's where I really wanted to just talk about the grassroots and how we can get people motivated to get involved in the process of that voting, so that they can, have eyes there to see what goes on and all across the fruited plain. So those were some of the subcommittees that we had. And honestly, I think that was a really good way to go about it. The fourth one was on technology only, and just looking at poll books, looking at walk books, looking at the technology for the voting machines and things like that too. So I think that it was a good group. There is a 24-page document, Rick, that was created, and nobody knows about it yet because Afghanistan. But it just came out, and if you'd like to get more information about it and see what it says and just see what some of the findings were, you can go to protectthevote.com. So, Preya, I'm going to hold you by. Oh, go ahead.
I have a quick question before we break because it's pertinent. I don't know if you're familiar with Predict It, but I like to wager money on political stuff, right? So the Republicans learned a lot of tough lessons, I think, in 2020, and you're on top of it now. And the wager for the Republicans taking over the House and the Senate is now at 47 cents, which, if it comes to fruition, pays out at $1, which means a greater than 100% return on your money. I've invested some, Preya. Tell me, do you think I should mortgage my house and put the rest on here? Are you feeling confident that we're going to take both chambers?
You know, I'm not a gambler, but I feel pretty confident about 2022 for us taking back the House and Senate based on the last 8 months. So, I mean, I wouldn't say mortgage your house or anything like that, but I feel pretty confident that you're going to have a good return on investment here.
Oh, yeah. I'm calling, honey. We're mortgaging the house. All right, Preya. We're holding you over for one more segment. We'll be right back, folks. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all. Spas, etc. Yeah.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Welcome back, folks, and you did it once again, our last segment, and we are with the Regional Communications Director, Preya Samsundar. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
awesome.
Well done.
Thanks for coming back. Thanks for giving me the tip on the wager.
So can you tell me, first of all, what are the states in the Midwest region so that people have an idea of your area that you cover?
Yeah,
I know,
so
this is a tough one.
I cover everything from the Dakotas to Ohio, all the way down to Missouri. So I have about 11 states in my region.
Excellent. So you're going around and sharing information with all of the RNC people, so the Republican National Committee people, but also then all of the states.
Yeah, so we work with the candidates, we work with our wonderful RNC members, we work with the state parties. We basically work with anyone who has an R behind their their candidacy. So, whether you're running for president of the United States or a dog catcher, if you need our help, we're here ready and willing to do whatever we can to help you get elected.
Well, we do appreciate your communication too. Today, this last segment, we're going to talk a little bit about Afghanistan. Now, the calls that I have been seeing are coming louder and stronger now for Biden to step down, just simply because this is such a hideous debacle and it's obvious to everybody across the spectrum. I want to start out this segment a little bit by saying that I was very pleased recent days to see our chairman, Ronna McDaniel, tweet out something. Let's take a look at that too. This is what she said. She said, Joe Biden abandoned Americans in Afghanistan. It is the ultimate failure and he is unfit to serve as president. Joe Biden must resign. And that was a very big statement.
Strong words.
Yeah, and she's not wrong. I have to say that there are many of us across the fruited plain who are thinking the same thing. Like, seriously, our precedent was Trump was impeached because of a phone call. So this is far more egregious and definitely clear and present danger, as some people have said as well, too. So I understand that there is an effort to show the pictures so that people can visually see all of the things that have happened. So I came across this. Let's run it.
Likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
Panic, chaos, a staggering collapse.
The Taliban is in control of Afghanistan.
President Biden this morning facing a catastrophic failure of U.S. foreign policy.
Kabul is falling now. The country is complete chaos.
The Taliban have won this war. With an emboldened and stronger Taliban that has greater access to weapons and technology that we supplied.
Anguish and agony as 15,000 Americans try to escape Kabul.
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not.
Breaking news, and it's difficult, can confirm that a number of U.S. service members were killed at the Kabul airport.
You set a deadline, you pulled troops out, you sent troops back in, and now 12 Marines are dead. Do you bear any responsibility for the way that things have unfolded in the last 2 weeks?
I bear responsibility for fundamentally all that's happened.
And he looks at his watch. That was just a terrible, terrible visual. And so bad for the security of our country, Preya.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I think I just want to reiterate again that our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers are with the families of those 13 service members that lost their lives, many of them right here from the Midwest. I know we lost a soldier from the Iowa, Nebraska area. Another was from Missouri. And so, just want to reiterate again that our thoughts and our prayers are with them. I know their families are incredibly disappointed by this administration, just like many of us are around the country as we look at these horrifying images of people just so terrified of an imminent Taliban rule in Afghanistan that they're willing to risk their lives, they're willing to separate with their children, they're willing to do anything in order to escape. And the fact that our commander-in-chief would abandon both not only Americans, but Afghan allies who stood beside Americans, risked imminent danger for the last 20 years to stand by our diplomats, our soldiers, and abandon them, is a dereliction of duty. And the chairwoman is absolutely right when she says that Biden must resign. I mean, it's just there are no words for what the Biden administration has done. I mean, the last 8 months has been one crisis after another, whether it's, the rollout of Operation Warp Speed, which was put together under President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, the crisis at our southern border where, Biden rolled back the plans and the policies put in by the Trump administration to, make sure that we had a secure southern border. I mean, now we have rising inflation and now Afghanistan. I mean, there's been so much that has happened over the last 8 months. I mean, it feels like we as a country have aged 20 years just from the crises and the chaos that has been created by this administration. And it's very unfortunate that House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and this administration refuse to take responsibility for their actions.
And that is exactly the hardest part for me, is that he was saying before the pullout, no, we're pretty much okay, it's not going to be chaotic, and he has been proven wrong with all of his prior statements. The other thing is, it's very disturbing to me that we would leave Americans behind. What kind of a president does that?
Well, and I think it's also important to note, you mentioned here that, before these service members lost their lives, the Biden administration was, and I mean, even still now, has really talked about how this withdrawal of troops, this botched withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, was actually a success. Tonight, Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, was grilled about a leaked phone conversation. It's allegedly President Biden with the Afghan president, where he's trying to encourage the Afghan president to come out and say that everything is fine and dandy with Americans pulling out from Afghanistan, and he couldn't obviously get him to do that.
Full circle back to a telephone call. Preya, thank you so much for taking your time out and talking to us. We very much appreciate you. We will have you on again.
Yep. Thank you for joining us.
Having me.
All right. Coming up, next show, we are going to have an American Conspiracies and Cover-Ups author, Douglas, say his last name, Sirignano. All right. Join us next time. We'll see you soon.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.